Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey, everyone. Duncan here with another episode of the Firebelly Social Show, where I get into it with founders and leaders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. So you know from listening to this show, if you've listened to it before, or if you know a founder like this, that they are a very, very, very passionate crew. They're here to change the world, and I'm just here to shine my light on them. So today, we're diving deep into the transformative world of retail groceries. So think data with Peter Gialantzis. Peter, did I say it right? Peter G.
Yeah, you did pretty good. Yeah, I'm Peter G, but Gialantzis is the technical,
Peter Gialantzis, Chief Merchandising, Chief Commercial Officer at Pod Foods. So before anything, I'd like to give a big shout out to a sponsor, Firebelly Marketing. At Firebelly, we help mission-driven food and beverage brands bring people closer together through social media marketing, awareness, reach, and of course, retail velocity. So if you're ready to use social media to create more community and excitement around your beverage or food brand, go to firebellymarketing.com to learn more. So joining us today is Peter G, and he is a visionary, no question about it. He is a old school, long time retail grocery guy, grocery distribution, leadership experience at some of the world's best brands, Whole Foods, Lucky's Markets, KeHE, and of course Pod Foods. And under his leadership, Pod Foods is creating a tech-enabled grocery distribution model that empowers emerging brands. And this is how, Peter, you got on my radar, the emerging brands and retailers with transparent real-time data and analytics. So, Peter, with no further ado, welcome to the show, my man.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here. This will be fun. Looking forward to it.
Peter, you came across my radar because of the work that you do for yourself on LinkedIn. You always, you always got a gospel, and you're digging deep into why things are happening, which is so fascinating. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn that just saying, "Yeah, here's what happened," but you dig into the why, which is fascinating. But let's start kind of at the beginning. You have a long time love for grocery and for data.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I'm not alone. I mean, I think there's thousands of us in the industry that have really committed their life's work to bringing better food to market. And that means different things to different people, but bringing access of good food to more people is a mission that I think a lot of us in the industry are driven by. And that was definitely true for me. I came out of college and immediately went to go work for Whole Foods because I felt like that was the front line of the battle between good food and less good food, let's call it. And yeah, increasingly now it's about the data and the analytics behind it that's driving that. And there's an art and there's a science. The science is the foundation upon which that art can be built in terms of getting that quality food into people's homes, for sure.
I mean, I think this is self-described by you and your team as a disruption because you are giving emerging brands opportunities that they otherwise would not have. I was just recently, like a week ago, at Whole Foods, came across your end cap, and lo and behold, there's Spicewell, right? And Reina Kumra has been on the show, and giving access to an emerging brand like that to prime retail space is amazing, and y'all handle all of that.
Yeah. I think that the exciting thing about the pod business model and what really drew me here is that the audacity of it, right? The audacity of a startup food distribution enterprise who is going to take on the incumbent model that had been in place for 40 plus years, really since the end of World War II. And what Fiona and Larissa did as our founders is just said, you know what? this needs to change. Somebody needs to do it. We'll figure out some of the details as we go, but we're going to go directly into the root cause of the problem and address those challenges head on. And with the approach of a disruptive innovator and the way that any tech company would approach disruptive innovation. It wasn't an incremental change. It wasn't a let's build a slightly better version of what already exists. It was let's completely flip the script and change the paradigm, which I thought was really exciting. And that's what brought me to Pod a couple years ago now.
I mean, I think I love the fact that you said it's Audacity, because you have taken on the traditional model, and what a wonderful goal and aspiration to bring better food to people. So it's not based on what work a tiny brand can or can't do. It's based on your representation, and in many ways, you're curating that space.
Yeah, there's the reality is, and this is harsh, but the reality is that there's more emerging brands in the market than there is shelf space for the product. We have 2,000 brands ourselves, but there's thousands more brands that we don't have yet. And in the aggregate, all of those SKUs of emerging brands are trying to find a home, but they're trying to find a home in a zero-sum, limited, finite shelf space environment. So what our mission is to try to be the matchmaker and try to find the right match between retailer and brand, and be honest with the brand, be transparent with the retailer about where those opportunities should be. But it's not driven out of charity. Our mission is to build a sustainable, financially solvent business model for ourselves, for the brands, and for the retailers that's built on differentiation. So when we walk into a retail account, we're not showing every retailer the same products. We're using data along with the market knowledge that we have to curate this box of innovation for this customer in this particular month's meeting. And what's in one retailer's box is completely different than in another retailer's box the next day. And what we're trying to do there is to find the right match of the right products with the right retailers so that everybody is getting to the right place and getting their best chance to succeed. And what it all comes down to at the end of the day is access. And the access that we're granting is the access to the consumer. Let the consumer decide if they want to buy the big CPG Doritos, or do they want to buy the new emerging brand challenger to the Doritos? And you could take that across any category. So if we're doing our jobs, we've put that decision in front of the buyers at all of these hundreds of retailers, getting the product on the shelf and giving the product a chance to succeed on the shelf and let the consumers decide what they want. And we're still in the early innings of this. We've been at it for a few years now, but we're still in the early innings of where this is going to go, because where it can very easily go is that in the aggregate, this community of emerging brands can take a few percentage points of market share from big CPG. And that doesn't need to be only in the natural channel of grocery. That could be in convenience stores and conventional grocery and food service accounts and alternate channels. It can be everywhere. Our mission is to move some of that big CPG market share into smaller CPG, more innovative market share instead. And that we consider to be our point of attack. Along the way, we'll probably take market share from other distributors, but that's secondary, right? The real focus is to earn market share for emerging brands on the shelves of these retailers.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I know I go to Fresh Time, I go to Whole Foods, I go to Aldi, I go to Kroger, I go to Trader Joe's, I go to Patel Brothers, and there's something different at each place, right? But what was fascinating about walking into Fresh Time and in Indianapolis and walking up to the local section and coming to the conclusion that Pod has put the whole thing together.
Yeah.
And some of those brands, I didn't even know existed in Indiana. I live in Indiana. I didn't know some of those brands existed. I mean, I knew about Revival Foods. I mean, I know they're a client of yours and a brand of yours, and also, they're here in Indianapolis. But some of the other brands I'd never heard of. And I think that's an amazing opportunity for people that are walking by to say, hey, I'm going to buy a tortilla chip or a chocolate that was made in Indiana.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful option for someone to have. I wanted to ask you that curation. What's that process like? I'm sure there's a lot of brands that come to you. What's that curation process like? What are you looking for in those
Yeah.
situations?
It's hard work for everybody. It takes effort. The easy button is to just carry the same product that everybody else carries, right? So I mean, our argument to any retailer, Fresh Time included, is if you're going to carry the same product as, for example, Walmart or Costco, good luck, because Walmart and Costco are great at what they do, and they have a scalar economy of buying power on those products that no one else will match. On the other hand, if you're carrying product that they don't carry and can't carry, you've built a protective moat around your business. You've defended your brand and created a reason for customers to make that special trip into your store. So Fresh Time has a good commitment to local product to begin with. They've dedicated resources to doing it and sourcing it with us and on their own as well. What I was at Whole Foods during the the golden era, I would say, of local foraging. It was the directive that came from John Mackey that up to 10% of the sourcing at the store level would be done regionally or locally at the store, and that supply chain would be managed locally. And that was a bold move then. And Fresh Time has taken a similar approach now to say we're going to dedicate an end cap and beyond to local sourcing in our stores because we know that we can't only compete on price. We can't only compete by carrying the same types of product that are in other retailers. So sourcing local for them is a labor of love. The brands find us oftentimes. It's not hard for a brand to onboard with us. It only takes about 30 minutes for a brand to fill out some easy paperwork. We don't have any complicated policies and procedures contracts like other distributors to sign. We also do a lot of outreach and sourcing too. So whenever we're onboarding a brand, we're looking at where it's from, where it's manufactured, and we're immediately looking at that and sorting them into which accounts make sense for us to make those initial presentations to. And everything that all of our internal communication at Pod, we're a remote company, so all of our internal communication is in Slack every day. So we're always communicating together, and it's just a hub of activity. And as we're onboarding new brands, the name of the brand and the manufacturer origin of the brand comes across all day, every day. And this happens several times a day that we onboard new brands. And when it does, we're looking at, this is interesting. Here's a new brand from Indiana. Let's double click on that. Interesting. not only is it a brand from Indiana, but it's a brand from Indiana that, for the sake of argument, carries tortilla chips, that makes tortilla chips. Hmm, that might be interesting. How do we figure out how to get that in front of the right customers? Fresh Time is the first to come to mind because they've got such a great local program. And then we're presenting that to the customer in next month's innovation meeting. But we're doing that nationally. I mean, that's the thing that's unique about Pod is that we are a national secondary, right? So number one, we have no aspirations to be a primary. We do aspire to change the industry for the better, but we want to do that by being the secondary source of supply to every retailer in America. That's the goal. And we want to do that on a national scale. So we want to have the care and the touch that a local or regional distributor would have, but be able to take that on a national scale and take a brand from one store in Indiana and scale that up to thousands of stores if that's what they want to do, if that's what the market wants them to do, right? So that's what I saw early on in my career at Whole Foods that really left an indelible mark on me was I would in 2001, 2002, I would see brands physically demoing store by store, starting at one store, moving to 10 stores, moving to 100 stores, and eventually going national, and eventually crossing that chasm and going into conventional retail as well. I saw brands like Vitamin Water at the ground floor when it was cool, new, and different, and no one knew what it was, and they were just tasting the demos, and it ended up selling to Coca-Cola for $6 billion some years ago, right? So we want to be the equivalent to that star maker of brands and that matchmaker of brands, because retailers alone can't do that nowadays and won't do that nowadays because they don't have access to all of the product that they want. So we want to be that catalyst that can take that brand from pre-launch, not even the first door, but 0 doors, right? How do we take a brand that's direct to consumer only, that's not in retail at all, and carry them across from a nucleus of maybe it's a local program at Fresh Time, sourcing that way, but scaling them all the way up as far as they'll go until they reach escape velocity. That's really our mission.
That's a beautiful mission. I love it. And I have to give a shout out to some of your brands, Secret Aardvark and Stacy, who's doing cool new things with nuts, and she's coming on the podcast next month. And of course, Mika from Issei.
Yeah.
What a beautiful story that is, and what an amazing product. Winning innovation awards and Spicewell and Revival we talked about. And we got to give a shout out to our friend Eric Martindale, who's
Yeah.
brings great stories to all of us and is doing some great things with retail media. So I wanted to ask this. So, let's say, you've got a brand, like you mentioned, they've got a great little product. They're selling a few thousand, products a month or, whatever the time frame is. What should someone like that, a founder of a little brand like that, that's got, good margins, they've got a few customers that are loyal. What should a brand like that be thinking about, in terms of what they could do with Pod Foods and what Pod Foods could do for them?
Yeah, great question. I mean, every brand is different. The first thing that we always say is we only want to work with a brand who wants to work with us reciprocally. And that might seem obvious, but historically in the industry, distribution is a necessary evil. Historically in the industry, people tolerate their distributor relationship. Like they tolerate going to the DMV to get their license renewed, right? It's something you have to do. And that's not what we're looking to do. So if a brand is already successful in distribution and they have no qualms about their current distribution partnerships, they should keep doing what they're doing, really, because we're here to solve problems. And if there isn't a problem to be solved, then we're not going to add a lot of value. But having said that, when you get in a room with 100 founders and ask them to raise their hand if they've got some sort of issues with their distributor, 95 hands are going to go up. So for those brands that are looking for something different, what we say is that we make money by selling things. We don't make money by buying things. And that's fundamentally different about our model. Because we don't have cost plus markups, and because we don't lose money selling to our anchor accounts, we don't need to find clever and creative ways to recover that loss through other parts of our business model. So we make all of our money in exactly one place in exactly the same way. And we have the same pricing model for a Walmart that we would for an independent retailer to level that playing field. I think the best thing that we do for brands is just the transparency and the line of sight that we give to the brands to exactly how much their product costs, meaning exactly what the retailer pays at all times is completely visible to them. Exactly which stores have ordered which products and when, right? In real time on your vendor dashboard, you can see exactly which retailers have ordered, not at the store level, I should say, right? Exactly what the status is of that order, where it went, from where to where, and in what quantities, and at what price. And then we're also saying in real time, this is how much money we are taking, and this is how much money we owe you at the end of this payment cycle. And there's no question mark about that because it's updated in real time and it's fully transparent. So by doing that, it really takes price off the table when we sell to the retailers. We're not talking about the cost plus this or cost plus that, and we're not looking at what the margin is. The brands call the shots in terms of establishing what their MSRP is, and then we're telling them what the retailer's margin expectations are. And the brand can decide whether or not they want us to present their product to that retailer. And then what we tell them is, great, if you want us to present you to, for the sake of argument, to Fresh Time, their target margin is X. Your MSRP is X. You know what it is. So you know what that cost is going to need to be. You know what we're going to charge you because it's posted right on our website. There's no mystery to that. And when we get in front of the retailer, it's just a very simple, do you like this product on your shelf at this MSRP, yes or no? Because everything that we're presenting is presented at their target margin from the get-go. And so it simplifies that conversation quite a bit. So for a brand, what we would say is, well, look, it costs $0 to onboard with us. And you don't pay us anything at all if we don't sell anything. And there are many companies out there that are charging money to present product for the chance of being sold. And we don't do that, right? So we take our time and our money to put together a box of innovation, ship that box of innovation to the retailer. Many times we will fly somebody in front of the retailer and meet with them and make that personal presentation with the goal of making the sale. And generally speaking, we make the sale 30% of the time. That's what our average has been. Our batting average has been over the course of 2024. So our value proposition to the brand is on board with us for free, figure out which accounts make sense, which is a two-way conversation that we'll have. We'll present to the accounts that make sense on our own dime. You'll pay nothing. And if we're successful, we will take a percentage of your sales. We'll handle all of the logistics. We've got all the warehouses and transportation taken care of. And we'll help you with all of the ancillary aspects of the business, like graphic design or marketing support or freight optimization or whatever. We'll help you with that. And if it turns out that it's not a fit, and it turns out that it just didn't work and we didn't make the sale, then you don't pay us anything. And you're also not contractually obligated to do anything, and there's no deductions for you to worry about. You can do whatever you want. So it's pretty hard to say no to that. There's not really any reason not to give it a shot. And we've had a lot of momentum because of that. The biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity that we have is we just need more retailers. We've got some great retailers: Sprouts, Fresh Time, Central Market, Foxtrot, Erewhon, Safeway. I mean, there's lots of them. We want all of them. That's what we need to do. We need to get all of the major retailers and the independents on board so that they have the option of us as a secondary source of supply. It doesn't matter whether you're Kroger or you're a small infra member, whoever your primary is, Pod Foods, we should be your secondary. That's our pitch to them. Let your primary handle 95% of your product. But for that 5 to 10% of the product that needs to be innovative and differentiated and cool and new, let us do that for you. So that's our mission now for 2025, is to 10x the door count that we deliver to, so that we can take all of these 2,000 plus great brands that we have and give them 10 times as many chances to be sold on our model. And we think we can do that because every retailer that we talk to is looking for innovation. And it's just a matter of time and elbow grease to get them on board.
And the beauty of it is, for the retailer, is it's a managed process. You're managing all aspects of it. You're researching it, you're curating it, you're working with the brands, you're handling the distribution. And Duncan walks in to see, hey, what cool things are in that innovation showcase over there. I mean, I've literally gone back over there, so I mean, I could order Spicewell from the website, or I can order it, buy it at Whole Foods. When I buy it at Whole Foods, it's better for her, with her retail velocity.
Yeah.
What about like from a marketing standpoint? Like what should brands? I mean, obviously we are a social media marketing agency. We work with clients on their social, helping them to decide what to do, retail velocity support, and helping them with email and SMS now. But what should a brand do to support its own success?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've I'll get there. So this year we've had some really eye-opening results working with brands that had really significant installed user bases on social. So some of those are celebrity brands. We work with a Kim Kardashian backed brand and a Travis Barker backed brand that have just great social backing before they ever launch into retail. And that's a major tailwind right up front. And that's great. And by all means, we have more of those in the pipeline, and we'll be launching some in Q1 that we're excited about. But we've also launched brands that don't have that celebrity backing necessarily, but they manufactured momentum on TikTok and Instagram and Instacart through micro influencer campaigns. And it's been eye-opening to watch those. We've had brands that have gone from a few thousand units a week to 20,000 units a week because of those campaigns. And so when we've seen that, a light bulb went off in our heads to say, well, what if we could make that happen? What if we're not just hoping that that happens and hoping that the brand figures that out? What if we take those best practices and make that happen across more brands that we launch? It's hard to take advantage. It's not impossible, but it's harder to take advantage of the true power of social media when the account is not on a national scale. Yes, you can do geo-targeting, and there is definite value to that. But when you get to the national scale and you can say, hey, good news, everyone, product X is now at Sprouts nationally, go buy it. Product X is now at Whole Foods. Go buy it. It's there. There's power in that. And you can start to unleash force multipliers on TikTok, Instagram. LinkedIn also is a great force multiplier. And so we're looking at getting brands that kind of a base to work with, and then working with them from day one to give them that force multiplier and give them that direction. So every brand is different. Some brands know exactly what they want to do in this space. Other brands have no idea what to do in this space. So we have a creative studio that helps them design shippers or helps them design a tray or other graphic design. And we'll point them to third parties to help them with their social media marketing, to help them with Instacart marketing, to help them get a shipper designed and manufactured for a POS display, right? We want to do anything we can to increase the unit velocity of the product on the shelf. Whatever that might be, there's an ROI in that for us. So we will put our time and our energy into helping the brand do that. And we want to connect the brand with as many partners as possible to help them succeed. So we have partnerships with demo companies where we refer a brand to a demo company. The demo company gives the brand a discounted rate for their pod referral. That's great. We don't need any sort of financial remuneration from that referral whatsoever. We'll win because the brand is selling more product.
Yeah.
So anything that we can do to help the brand sell more product is a win for Pod Food, since that's how we make money. We make money by selling things. So we're mission aligned. And again, it's not because we're good Samaritans. We're doing it because the core business model is mission aligned with the core business model of the brand, which is sell more units to make more money, right? Which is not rocket science, but the other distributors, nationally speaking, are not doing that.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And I can clearly see, I mean, we deal with it in our world too, the challenges of not being national, right? Because, I mean, there's just economies of scale that you can't get in on. But also, the other question I wanted to ask is, there's that last mile that, we don't have proper connection on, right? So yeah, maybe the brand's using Micmac or Destiny or, something like that, and they can get some feedback into attribution. But generally, if a brand is running social to support, let's say they're supporting Sprouts, right? And it's like in Colorado or whatever state, they're supporting all the Sprouts there because they're now releasing there. They kind of, the way it is today, they kind of have to depend on, hey, what's happening at the store level, because we're doing all these things, and the only real indication that it's working is if we're moving velocity. There's nothing that connects it. Like you send traffic to a website, right? If it doesn't convert, we know, okay, the messaging is wrong, or the heat map's telling us that they went to the wrong place, or the offer is bad, or the price is wrong. But in this disconnect, and are you seeing people making progress in solving that? Can we expect to see some kind of resolution in 2025? Is it going to be, camera-based facial recognition? Is it going to be mobile ID resolution? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the pace of technology, with AI especially, we're going to be able to get a lot further, a lot faster than anybody would have thought in that regard. I think the easiest way is just for us to connect the dots omnichannel, meaning let's break down the firewall between direct to consumer and brick and mortar retail once and for all, right? There are a lot of brands right now that are doing incredible business in direct to consumer that have not made the leap into retail. They're sitting on incredible zip code level data of exactly where the product is selling and selling well and to which consumers and why. And the demographic data is incredible for that direct to consumer business. But there's limitations on it. There's limitations on the order minimum, on the certain customers will always want to shop in real life at a brick and mortar store. The cost of fulfilling those orders for the brand is high on a per order basis, right? So I just saw this several times this week. There are brands that I didn't even know about. And I've been doing this my whole life. And there are brands that I didn't even know about that are doing millions of dollars of direct to consumer business of awesome products with zero retail footprint. We need to get them into retail. That's our message to brands that are direct to consumer only is you need to get into retail. It's not an either or. It's not a one and then the other. It's not, let's see, we can do all of the above. We've had a lot of brands say that they're not ready for retail. And we say, well, we'll make you ready. We'll help you be ready. You can't afford not to be in retail. And then we say to the retailer, you can't afford not to have this brand. This brand has all of these followers and all of this business, and they're ordering it online. Let's activate them. Let's flood them into your stores. So back to your question, if that brand has all of that direct to consumer business, and then we're accretive to that business by capturing all of this retail business, we know exactly where these people are. We can go to a chain and say, you have 500 stores. Here's the 150 of those stores that are over indexed to this product. And we know this for a fact because we know where they live because of their direct to consumer business. This is not a mystery. Let's bring this product in. It's going to succeed, right? And so we want to connect those dots and we want to make it easier for those brands. The interesting thing is that a lot of those brands, including the very successful brands, don't know the first thing about selling in retail. So we have brands that need to redesign their packaging because when you're selling online, a lot of the attribute information and reviews and everything else can be right there in front of the consumer. When you're on the retail shelf, if the packaging doesn't make the sale for you, chances are the customer is not going to buy it. And so the packaging design oftentimes needs to change. Oftentimes there needs to be a shipper or a tray or a POS piece that needs to be designed and whatnot. And we help brands do that because we're basically just we're trying to open those floodgates, especially going into next year. All of those brands that think they're not ready for retail, our message to them is you are. You're ready. You can't afford not to be ready. The retailers are ready. And if the retailer doesn't realize that they're ready, we're going to help make them ready too. And so that's the conversation that we'll have.
That's fascinating. Thank you for explaining that. I wanted to see if we could do a rapid fire round. You can give abrupt short answers even.
Sure.
There's a lot of talk about the Kroger Albertsons proposed merger, which may not be happening now. Thoughts on that?
I think it's good for the industry that it's not happening. I think the FTC's rationale for blocking it was bogus, but I think at the end of the day, it's good that it's not happening. I think we can move on to other things, which is innovation is more important than integration of two giant companies for 2 years.
Awesome. You mentioned Kim Kardashian earlier, and you had written an article a few days ago about Kim Kardashian being responsible for blowing up Guinness sales.
Yeah. It's fascinating because when you're looking now how profound social media can be at influencing consumer demand. And even somebody who doesn't drink Guinness can over the course of a year with one Instagram photo make Guinness sales reverse the trend of year over year decline. What if somebody starts to do that on purpose, right? As opposed to just by accident. And I think we're starting to see more and more of that.
What new brands are you excited about? Just one or two.
Wow, well, it's hard to say one or two. I will tell you, um, I really like brands that are taking an innovative approach to an existing market that doesn't usually get a lot of attention, right? So Laurel's does a really great job, Isabel Washington, with ready to drink coffee with A2 regenerative organic lattes and chais, right? That category is super saturated with tons of brands, but she's taking a novel approach to it, right? And there's a brand that we're working with that's selling hydration vitamin infused popsicles. I think that's like that kind of stuff is really cool because there's how many popsicles out there and how many hydration brands out there, but they're taking a novel approach to it, right? So I think we're looking at when we're looking at the most exciting brands to show to retailers, it's proven category but true innovation in that proven category that can shake things up.
That's super cool. What does Peter do to relax?
I don't relax.
Now, I did see from a very reliable source that you are not only a vinyl man, but you're an analog audio fan. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I do. We do. I love technology, but I'm also, I'm a big collector and a big fan of 70s and 80s nostalgia. And I'm really interested in the time before digital and what aspects of that time maybe we didn't need to change. And vinyl, I think, is one of them. It sounds great. There's a reason why it sounds great, and you can't replicate that digitally, right? So yeah, I'm a big fan.
absolutely not. There's a warmth to the sound and a
Yeah.
crackle, and it's interesting because I will say that newer records do sound really good, because there are some cheaper, older records that just don't sound as good, but there is, and let me guess, is the Boss part of your repertoire?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
The River? Is it the River?
Yeah.
Wow, that I went out on a limb. I didn't have any inside information on that.
I actually have that from the original. Like I have the original. Yeah.
That's super. That's super cool. So music plays an important role in your life. Anything coming up that you want to tell people about?
Just keep an eye on all of our announcements in quarter one because we're going to be rolling out with many more national retailers, and we're going to be fulfilling our mission in new accounts soon, and that'll open up a lot more doors for a lot more brands.
That's pretty amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter. This has been a great show. And if you haven't already checked it out, podfoods.com, is that podfoods.co?
Podfoods.co. Yeah, there's a lot of cool information on there. You can see a lot of what we do, including the podcast that we have, and you can watch founder stories there.
And it's a great podcast. I just watched a few episodes in the last few days. It's a really great conversations and also keep a track of the cool brands that Pod is paying attention to, and to a future with more data, with more transparency, with more audacity and more access to good food. Thank you, Peter, so much. I'm really thankful for you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Firebelly Social Show. I'm your host, Duncan. Love chatting with leaders and founders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. And so happy to have Peter G in the house today. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.